Good Tuesday evening, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center, keeping an eye on the severe weather situation that's evolving towards southern Georgia here. We do have a severe thunderstorm watch in play as we're looking, and that goes to about 1 a.m. or so. And now some severe thunderstorm warnings really starting to pop up. We actually had just one issued off toward Ben Hill County, which we'll get to in a moment. But we've been watching a line here, an organized line that's produced a lot of wind damage really off toward the west here. Really seeing that come into focus there. So let's go ahead, in fact, and switch you on over to our analyst computer. You'll be able to see what's going on over there right now and kind of get an idea of what's going on here as you're looking toward parts of southwestern Georgia. We're talking about portions of Quitman, Clay, and Randolph under a severe thunderstorm warning here for the next little bit. So talking about till 9:45, in fact, and we're seeing that 60-mile-an-hour wind potential in that vicinity, so we have to be really cognizant of that. Really seeing some high wind speeds off toward the west here, so something we have to be cognizant of. So we'll keep an eye here on this computer, going between some of our different computers here this evening. So definitely keeping an eye on some of the different things that are showing on up here. But let's go ahead now and zoom into this axis toward parts of Ben Hill County under severe thunderstorm warning until about 9:45 over there. At 9:05, a severe thunderstorm is located over Fitzgerald, moving northeast at about 25 miles an hour. So we're going to continue to watch this very carefully over in that vicinity. Fitzgerald also getting over toward the Fitzgerald Municipal Airport, even toward areas around Bowens Mill, Red Bluff, Aston. You kind of get the idea here. Some pretty strong winds here in that vicinity. Definitely a possibility out ahead of the main line. But speaking of this main line, let's go ahead and pop this back up in front of the chroma key this time. We'll switch you on over to another vantage point, as you do see here again, just getting into our northwestern zones with the main line, but that wind energy does tell the story here. Overall, we've seen a lot of that up higher in the atmosphere, and some of that's translating down toward the surface. And then near Fitzgerald, a severe thunderstorm warning in play. We're looking further away on this radar site, but I know earlier we had some pretty high views, maybe not this high, but we were looking up a couple different views of radar toward parts there of southern Georgia, getting there toward areas around Turner County, for instance, just north of Ashburn. In fact, we ended up having a damage report there where a shed was destroyed. So just kind of seeing that evolving. I know we put that out on Facebook and Twitter, that latest information to keep everybody up to date. And just kind of seeing how the situation does evolve as we go throughout the evening with the main line. That's our bigger concern, but seeing another storm out ahead of that main line becoming severe, of course, is worth watching for sure. We'll continue to give you the latest updates here from the Weather Center. So just trying to look at things. I know right now the worst of this around US 319 into toward parts of Ben Hill County, just on the northern edges of our viewing area. I know that threat toward the first coast, north central Florida, really not coming into focus today or tonight. But as we look toward tomorrow, we'll see some of that here in toward that picture. And then as we get in toward your Thursday, also seeing some of that rain around as well. So continuing to watch things here on this Tuesday evening. It's severe thunderstorm warning toward Fitzgerald to about 9:45, but then the main line, the main event, really going to be moving on in. We'll see if things kind of weaken out toward northern Florida. I'm more concerned about southern Georgia, especially southwestern Georgia here, based on how the overall atmospheric parameters are. But we'll continue to watch things here for you in the Weather Center and giving you that latest heads up on things. We'll watch for any spin-ups that could occur along the line. That severe threat in terms of the tornadic risk is pretty low, but we'll just continue to keep an eye on things for you. We'll go back over now toward our other viewpoint, and you'll be able to see just a line of severe thunderstorm warnings going all the way there from south of Atlanta to about Dothan. So definitely watching this potential here very carefully. I know the Storm Prediction Center just put out this mesoscale discussing the blue circled area I'm talking about, where they're talking about just some of the different parameters that are in play. And I'll kind of read some of this to you. As that strong to severe damaging wind gust threat does remain the primary concern with the line of storms moving eastward this evening. Radar imagery there suggesting and showing enhanced low-level velocities associated with a QLCS, and that is a quasi-linear convective system we're talking about, moving across parts of southeastern Alabama and southwestern Georgia and western Georgia as well. The scattered strong to damaging winds around 60 should continue to be the main threat here in the short term with the northern segment of this line, which remains oriented there a little more in the favorable atmospheric parameters. Really, it's able to take advantage of those here. But with the loss of the daytime heating, the air mass downstream should gradually become less unstable, meaning more stable, less severe, and as a result, more and most of the short-term guidance suggests that a slow reduction in the overall intensity of the line should occur later this evening, which will be some good news because I'm seeing all sorts of issues off toward the west. And speaking of some of these issues here, I'm going to go over toward our power outage mapping system here. It'll take me just a moment to get this in our system as we go toward Alabama because those numbers are really high out there. I'm really seeing those numbers add on up there toward Alabama, Mississippi. As of the latest information that's coming on in, according to PowerOutage.us, you can kind of see why we're a little more concerned here about our Georgia viewers once I switch this on over because the numbers are really up there. You see, as we're looking off toward the west a little bit, a lot of these counties here are seeing power outages. Russell County in Alabama, over 1,000. It's not far to the west, really, as we're talking about our viewing circle, of course, as we're bordering Florida, or excuse me, we're bordering Alabama and Georgia here. So we're just definitely watching things very carefully. Lee County, over 6,000. And then you kind of see Bullock as well as Montgomery there, over 23, almost 24,000 customers in the dark. Elmore County, over 11,000. Otago County, there, over 15,000. So you kind of get the idea here. And I'll go ahead and broaden this out, and then we'll go over to the Mississippi map, which they got the storms first, and they've had some more time to get power outages restored, but still nasty situation out there. We're dealing with about 115,000 or so customers in the dark, and you can kind of see the strip of where the worst of the wind was really as we're going from central Mississippi towards central Alabama here with this. So definitely something that's worth noting for sure as we're just kind of keeping an eye on things in the grand scheme. So you see some of these different counties here in Mississippi just adding those power outages up. So we'll keep you up to date here from the Weather Center. I'll take a break right now. I'll be back about 9:30 unless something really pops up where we need to jump on here imminently, like a tornado warning situation. So keeping an eye on things here in the Weather Center. I'll be back about 9:30 unless we have some more severe weather information to tell you about. So stick with me. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center at the bottom of the hour as we continue to watch the severe weather situation across parts of southern Georgia, other parts of Georgia, Alabama as well, getting into the action here. But a severe thunderstorm warning does continue for Fitzgerald and parts of Ben Hill County until 9:45. And in fact, I have another radar view pulled up of this. We will try to give you a little bit better vantage point on what is happening there in toward the Ben Hill County vicinity. So we'll kind of switch you on over right now and show you what we're talking about here. You see right in toward Fitzgerald, getting into some of the heavier rain, maybe some wind as well here. It's hard to say. We're pretty high up on this radar, not as high up as the radar we were using earlier. I switched again to the closest one, but still over 4,000 feet, so it's harder to see exactly what's happening at the surface, but still some damage and wind, a possibility, maybe a little bit of small hail here with the isolated storm, which will be moving out of the viewing circle here in just a little bit, it looks like, as we're getting here. I know as we're looking toward Telfair and Jeff Davis, that's out of the area. Coffee's still in it. Some may be clipping parts of Coffee. We'll see what the Jacksonville office decides to do, because as we're looking toward Ben Hill, that's part of the Tallahassee jurisdiction, but over toward Coffee, that's part of the Jacksonville area, County Warning area. I know we've dealt with Douglas, of course, that tornado there. We covered live the EF2, which was pretty significant. And just speaking of that, while we're on, we'll go over to some of our graphics, because I wanted to mention something here about some of the different types of tornadoes. I have a graphic in our system about this because we did see some tornadic action last night, getting back on your Sunday as well. So we'll be kind of trying to run that down for you here as we're looking at some different things. And in fact, it looks like our graphics aren't quite loaded in there. Sometimes this happens here, folks. I know we've been busy with this storm cover over the last few weeks. So sometimes our system doesn't quite want to do what it's supposed to. So I think we have it now set. So there you go, our enhanced Fujita scale. What I'm talking about with this, and you see weak, strong, of course any tornado is dangerous, but some of these winds here that we've seen toward Alabama, not with an actual tornado situation, but with the actual just winds overall, are more equivalent here toward a weaker type tornado. I know as we're looking even toward Tupelo, they had what technically is called a weak tornado Sunday night. Even though there's a tornado emergency, you could kind of tell in the gate to gate we weren't dealing with extreme velocities, a little bit worse in some other spots. And I know toward Atlanta we had some tornadic action. I'll click debris signature in that vicinity there on your Monday toward Douglas County, Georgia. In fact, not Douglas, Georgia itself, but just talking about the Peach State in general. And then as we're looking toward areas though last night, we did end up getting to that just barely in that strong tornado criteria as we were looking toward parts of North Texas around Waxahachie, for instance. We saw an EF2 tornado cross the interstate there, I-35, and another tornado there that was really strong relatively as well. I mean, it was a little bit higher on the EF2 scale, but we did not see anything where we were going right between strong to violent. We were talking about it this morning. We didn't have anything that was right there in that EF3, EF4 range at least, so that's good. But still, just getting the latest information here in the chat. Toward Quitman County, Georgia, a few trees and power lines down, so not what you want to hear about over there as we're looking toward parts of that vicinity. As you would expect with what we're seeing within our radar algorithms, this action's coming on in. It's going to be getting closer toward Albany over the next little bit. So you might want to charge up your devices if you're in Albany. I know Quitman's on the far northwestern reaches of our area, so just kind of giving you that information as we do watch for them. But Cuthbert getting into some of this stuff. It's not showing up very good right now because we're getting some of that action there at the radar site, so it's making it harder to see from the closest radar site. But some heavier rain, some gusty winds moving through Cuthbert right now into toward parts of Randolph County there. And then we have this going down toward Clay County, Georgia, not Clay County, Florida, of course, but Clay County, Georgia. I know we're going to send you out a map here probably at some point as we're looking ahead in the timeline later on this year at least, where we're trying to kind of define our covered areas. So I know what it is, and it's the Tallahassee CWA here as we're looking towards southwestern Georgia, but That's our viewing area over that way, the county warning area for the Weather Service. But we're going to kind of refine that a little bit later this year, so you guys kind of know exactly what we're doing here. Might kind of change things just a little. We'll make sure you know though ahead of time, so you're able to kind of make any adjustments. But again, Cuthbert here, getting into some heavier rain around Dixie Alley, Hamilton Avenue. County Road 134, moving towards Selman, so some pretty high winds there. May get a warning toward Terrell County and Dawson over the next little bit, so that'll be something to watch as well. I know they're getting some heavier rain over toward Ozark, Alabama too, so definitely something worth noting in that vicinity. Some really strong wind showing up here. This is outside of a warning, I believe. That's a little surprising that that's outside of a warning, unless that's maybe they think that's a false signature. Let's see though. That's not in our area, but that's a strong signature of some damaging winds. It looks like they're moving toward Headland. Maybe even a quick spin up tornado here. Gotta watch that. I know that's out of our area, but it looks like a spin up. We saw this back here. We were looking with one of these other events when we had the line kind of in the scenario where the weekend down. We had some tornado warnings. There's a little bit of a different orientation. It had a little bit different of an orientation, but still. You can see the word Midland City here, seeing some rotation. That might get a warning here. I know, just gotta watch. It's hard to tell 100%, but it looked like something might have been trying to get going there. That's again not in our area, so we won't watch because they're getting out of that rain. We'll see if they issue anything. You'll hear a beep if I'm on talking. But again, we do have the warning toward areas around Ben Hill County once again. So let's go ahead and zoom back over there toward Fitzgerald. Again, it's severe thunderstorm warning of 9:45. Both of these polygons are tracking in our area, in our covered area, go until 9:45. So just something worth noting here for sure this evening. We're watching things very carefully here and just trying to give you that latest information there with the heavier rain moving on in. Again, we're kind of splitting the screen there for you for just a second, but let's go back on over, and then we have the thunderstorm watch. You saw that pink on the map where I had it on the other system there. That watch going there until 1 a.m., meaning conditions favorable for severe weather in and close to the watch area. But as we get down to Fitzgerald, maybe a little bit of a wind enhancement here. It's hard to say. We're so far. That's a hook though, so we got to watch for maybe a quick spin up on this. It's just we're not in a good spot to see if anything were to actually be spinning up, but just gotta watch because sometimes when you have these storms like this, you can get a little bit of twisting here. There's no tornado possible tag yet, but just something to watch here. It's so far from the radar site, it'd be hard to see if anything evolved out of this. Let's check for debris. I'm not seeing anything right now, so that's good. But you have a little bit of rotation, so at least maybe some wind enhancement getting down to the surface. We've had 2 severe thunderstorm warning polygons already verified today. The one earlier by itself this afternoon, we just put it out as it was in mainly rural areas. But in fact, Weather Service did a great job because it was not that easy to see that wind potential on radar really. And we ended up getting some damage toward areas of Turner County there. So seeing that come into focus. And then we had the damage there just a little while ago toward Quitman County. I know we've been telling you about that thread. We told you about Quitman County this morning. We referred to that anyway. I know we have Quitman and Quitman County, but we were talking about the enhanced risk toward Quitman County and ended up seeing some of that damage potential come into play there. So just definitely worth paying attention to as you're looking here on our Moody radar. We'll just look here toward Broxton Highway as we see if anything spins up or if there's a wind enhancement in here. I know out of our viewing area, but it is covered by Albany stations there as we're looking some severe weather toward Americus there. That warning goes to 10 Peachtree City, Atlanta area office, and prior to that, very big severe thunderstorm warning. So that's something that's going to be monitored. But back to our other radar, I know the Weather Service talking now that they're not, as of now, going to issue further downstream warnings here as they think the winds have weakened. But again, it's hard to tell here because right now the rain, wind potential is right around the radar site. So it's hard to really say. I would want to wait until this got past the radar to be certain because there's an enhancement here. This may just be something to do with our radar getting a lot of rain. It might be a false echo, but there's something going on that's at least showing up on the Doppler here north of Grimes in part of southeast Alabama, again out of our viewing area. Now this stuff near Clay, Randolph, And early looks like it's really weakening quick. And I know we had a situation here with the storm coming out of Alabama, really weakening quick before, but I don't want to say they're weakening as quick as this shows right now because again the radar's kind of being blocked right now because you see here a radar beam. There's so much rain right around the radar site, so it's hard to say for certain. We will switch you over to a different radar. Let's try Maxwell because this is not going to be blocked as much, and they may be looking at this, and if they're not seeing as much, then and there's just some more enhancement on that. So, and there's some wind up there as well. So it's hard to say. We're looking up pretty high, 7,000 feet. But again, we're going to continue to watch here some severe thunderstorm warnings in play till 9:45. Again, right now I'm not looking like we're going to have some new warnings really coming into play, but you just never know. We had that damage there around Quitman County at 9:10 or so right when we were coming on here. I know we put it out on Twitter earlier. Retweeted the information from my automated account at cloud_WX so you can stay up to date. And that Twitter account always really helpful as well. Excuse me. We're looking here, getting some new information in. I know that Twitter account really helpful though. Because it tweets out things automatically. I have it set up from the Jacksonville and Tallahassee Weather Service offices to be able to tweet out the things automatically here. The Iowa Environmental Mesonet does have that where we can do that. So some of those counties not in the viewing circle, and then Levy County not actually included on that because that would be adding a lot of information toward that Twitter account, the Tampa office. But just something to definitely pay attention to. We always keep you updated down toward Levy County, but I see the new information was they decided to issue a new severe thunderstorm warning. They were seeing exactly what I was seeing here in the Doppler a moment ago in terms of at least some enhanced velocities. Now, they're not thinking it's tornadic. They're just going straight line wind, but at least enhanced velocities toward Dothan. That looks like the most pressing thing right now, even though it's out of our area. There's a couple areas here of enhanced velocities that are relatively significant here. Just on the north side of Dothan toward Kinsey here. We're seeing some winds here in that severe range, and then maybe something down toward Hartford, again outside of our region. So we're just watching, we're just tracking things for you here. But the action here toward Clay, toward parts of Randolph, not as impressive looking, but again, take that with a grain of salt because it's harder to see here as we're seeing some issues with the Doppler technology. But still going to have some wind and rain nonetheless, moving toward Blakely, Morgan over the next little bit. Excuse me, I apologize, but Albany as well. So just tracking that potential here toward Dougherty County too as we look ahead in toward the timeline. So something to track. I'll go ahead and get a drink of water, I guess. I was going to wait till 9:45 first though, but once we see these drop off, we'll go ahead and take a break in the covered and then plan on coming back at 10 because we still could have some more warnings like we just saw towards southeastern Alabama here. The warning situation looked as if it was maybe falling off a little bit, but then the enhanced velocities popped up and warning had to be required there toward parts of Dale County there. So just got to be watching out for that for sure. Seeing some of that wind enhancement there as we look. Just still seeing some of that toward Geneva County. Kind of get the idea. Just going to continue to watch here. Some weaker rain and maybe some wind moving toward Dawson and Terrell County here as well. So going to be seeing that there around, it looks like Brownwood here. So down toward areas of Dawson where it actually kind of strengthened on the last scan. Kind of interesting to see that. We're talking about around 6th Avenue northeast there. It looks like as I kind of put some of our street level mapping on. Again, this just catches my eye in around Dothan because that's actually showing up as if that's damaging wind for certain pretty much. They're right there north of Dothan. It's just something that I don't want to ignore. I know it's out of our area, but because it's something that could move into our area if parameters allow for it, at least barely. I think it's worth noting because that's some of the stronger one we've seen in a more concentrated focus zone. At least we've seen some of the action here off toward the west. We saw some of that here in the situation as well as I see a new warning popping up parts of our region. But we were seeing that wind over a broader area toward Lee County a little bit earlier in parts of, I know, Alabama, and as we were looking toward Montgomery as well there. But now a warning for Lee County in Georgia, kind of seeing this pop on here. We're talking about Lee and Terrell now until 10:30 at 9:44. I think they saw that enhancement around Dawson. Maybe not as much within the wind velocities, but you could just see that rain kind of pick on up. So at least getting some more of that wind potential to the surface. So now a new warning for Lee and Terrell until 10:30. That's why you don't want to let your guard down. Some severe weather in the Dawson area. Dawson, Leesburg, parts of Albany, Smithville, Sasser, Brownwood, and even getting over toward Oliver's Mill, Briz's Crossroads, Century. You kind of get the idea. All under a severe thunderstorm warning now until 10:30. As we look here just north of Albany now, we might get some new warnings added on here in just a moment. We'll see. It's hard to say, but definitely the accent more toward Dothan is more impressive. So we'll continue to watch. If we get some new information, we'll let you know about it at 10, unless we have a more imminent situation, like a tornado warning, and then we'll cut it back in sooner. So for now, meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center, keeping an eye on things on this. It looks like we just got a new warning here. We're having some issues with our chat, so let's see. Okay, I know our chat looks like it just went down on us because we just got a new thunderstorm warning toward Coffee. It didn't pop up, just like our situation toward Lee and Terrell. So let's go ahead and pop this up real quick before we leave you. I know chat sometimes has issues, just like radars do. So you just always have to be kind of watching things more carefully, even when there's severe weather, because things can change in a hurry, and sometimes it might be easier to miss something. As we have this new warning now toward Pridgeon in north central Coffee County until 10:15 at 9:44. A severe thunderstorm was located near Jacksonville, Georgia, not Florida, but Georgia, moving east at about 30 miles an hour. So seeing that in that vicinity, just barely in our viewing circle there, but they're seeing more of that out of the area, and Tallahassee didn't issue that, but Jacksonville did for the impending threat. So just seeing some of that potential there, seeing some more warnings popping on up toward the Florida Panhandle now out of our viewing area, but right now 2 warnings in our viewing area, Coffee until about 10:15, and then Lee and Terrell till about 10:30. Some damage toward Dale County, Alabama, with a power line down on a road there that just popped in. Kind of odd. Didn't get our warning to pop in, but that popped up. So you just never know. Sometimes communication outages can last for just a moment within the chat system. So we just got a couple new warnings. We'll keep you up to date back at 10 unless something comes back on our screen like a tornado warning that makes me break in sooner. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center at the top of the hour, continuing to watch things very carefully here to keep everybody up to date, safe, and informed. And you do see a severe thunderstorm warning in play here, a new one that just got issued for parts of southwestern Georgia all the way to 11:15. It's the Polycon that includes Blakely. We're talking about here in southwestern Georgia, not any part of North Florida, but Baker, Calhoun, Clay, Decatur, as well as Doherty, Early, Miller, Mitchell, Randolph, even getting over towards Seminole as well. So a wide area now under a new severe thunderstorm warning all the way to 11:15. As severe thunderstorms located along a line extending from near Morgan to near Columbia, moving southeast at about 55 miles an hour. So call quick, as would Newton, Morgan, Albany, Blakely, Pelham, Putney, Donaldsonville, Camilla, Edison, Arlington, Baconton, Columbia, Leary, East Albany, the Marine Corps Logistics Base, Turner City, Walker, Douglasville, and Centerville, all under this warning until 11:15. I know the Weather Service talking here in the chat that they got a report there at a Mesonet in Dawson, Terrell County at about 9:44 where there was a gust to about 50 miles an hour or so. So getting those winds at least in that strong range, maybe in that severe range at times. So definitely keeping an eye on everything that goes along with that. I'm going to go ahead and check our power outage map here, and if it's interesting, I'll go ahead and pop it on the screen. I just getting the latest update, and there's a little bit of something in here, so let's go ahead and pop that up over on our other source. Now you already see what we're talking about. A couple counties with some power outages that stand out. You see Worth County, 165 customers. Not too concerned with that overall because we're really watching the accent more coming in and has come in from Alabama into Georgia here. Clay County, Georgia, 201 customers in the dark, and there may be a few customers in here not tracked, so I may see a few more customers add on up. It takes a few minutes for this to update. I know looking at some things yesterday, just happened to have some power outages in Florida, Clay County, Florida. It took a few minutes here because this is an aggregate system. If you go to like Clay Electric, where we're at North Central Florida, and check, you can kind of check the power outages through that a little bit quicker when you look at the individual providers. And some of those, again, aren't tracked on things that we sell, or again, they don't update as quick because there's just so much that has to go into this. But again, poweroutage.us, so in this, a great tool, really helps us out. You see the power outages overall, and then I'll go ahead and go to our broader perspective now. You see 128,000 or so customers in the dark in Alabama, 109,610 or so in Mississippi. Some other power outages as well as we're looking towards South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Arkansas. You kind of get the idea. It's been a pretty busy period. But just kind of keep an eye on things here. We'll come back on the camera now here in the Weather Center and see what the radar is displaying for us here around Blakely. Again, seeing some of that wind energy. And in fact, let's go over now toward our other source to be able to see here around Blakely, getting to some of that higher wind there as you go to our base velocity mode around Luke. It looks like the community of Luke down toward State Route 62, getting tighter in toward Blakely as well there, US 27, Bancroft, Arlington there, and then more wind energy even in toward parts of Alabama showing up as well. So gotta just watch out for that here. We just got a report in out of Randolph County. Not what you want to hear about really. I go ahead and broaden the view back out. It looks like there at the Spring Valley Station, there on Highway 82 at the Equipment Randolph County line, is blocked by two trees as two semi-trucks are stuck in between. So that's not what we want to hear, and that's why it's dangerous. The severe thunderstorm watch and play till 1 a.m. So conditions favorable for severe weather and then close to the watch area here. And we've talked about the risk as we look at overall. You see it falling off generally toward the south, but it's still there. Still a thunderstorm watch and play toward Tallahassee until about 1 a.m. And then as we get down to here toward, I know you're wondering, North Central Florida, not really much of a threat overall. You see a marginal risk of warning toward Coffee County and toward until about 10:15. But as we're looking here further over, you don't see too much today. But now I do want to say tomorrow's outlook while we're on, because I know we have a lot of viewers in towards Stark, Jacksonville, and Gainesville. When you see some of that risk started to end on in tomorrow, rain chances go up some. We didn't have really any too much rain around, at least here toward the first coast of Central Florida. We did have some sea breeze acts, and you see a marine warning behind me, but overall not too much rain in the picture. But that's going to kind of change here tomorrow. And then as we look toward your Thursday, see that more in toward North Central Florida getting on down there. So definitely interesting to watch out for in terms of that. So let's go back up toward the north and west right now. We're still watching things very carefully. Still seeing some of that wind enhancement, especially in the Alabama accent, but maybe a little bit harder to see the Georgia accent, just depending on how the radar beam's looking at things. But right now, 3 warnings in the Market area. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning for a lot of counties here. Northeastern Decatur, Miller, Dougherty, southeastern Clayton and Georgia, southeastern Randolph, Mitchell, Baker and Georgia, Calhoun, northern Seminole, and early until 11:15. Then a severe thunderstorm warning toward the north for Lee and Terrell until 10:30. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, the main threat that can knock out some power, maybe knocking down some tree limbs or a tree here and there. And then Coffee County, a severe thunderstorm warning remaining in effect till 10:15. With a storm around Broxton there, moving east at about 20 miles an hour. Mainly rural areas there of north central Coffee County. Under that warning, we'll go to our Moody radar real quick, give you a viewpoint of that. So we'll kind of reset that for you here and pop that up here in just a moment. But let's go over to the broad view real quick. You can kind of see that storm there toward Coffee County, isolated by itself. Definitely watching things very carefully here as we check out some more different tools here and look at those here within our toolkit. Just always interesting to see different radar perspectives. There is a little bit of rotation, at least within the display on our base reflectivity north of Pridgeon. So let's go ahead and pop that back up here in South Georgia. We're looking around, it seems, US 441 as maybe traveling up there from, from Florida into Georgia there. You see some of that wind enhancement, not much rotation within velocity when we go into the hood, but you just see a little bit of a hook on this, which is interesting there. But nothing indicative of a imminent tornado threat. And now outside of our viewing area, there is a severe thunderstorm warning toward Cordele. We just got, in fact, another warning issued, which we'll kind of get into that here in a moment. But this is out of our area, but I wanted to touch on it because some of you people, as we're looking here across our region, maybe kind of interested, as some of you may be wanting to know what's going on up toward Cordele. There is a severe potential in that area, just outside of the viewing circle, at least till 10:15, but I'm seeing some different warnings pop up in our area now. A very large severe thunderstorm warning just being issued now by the National Weather Service in Tallahassee until about 11:45. We're talking about Irwin County, Northern Berrien County, Turner County, Tift County, Ben Hill County, Worth County, all under the severe thunderstorm warning until about 11:45 this evening. So again, I continue to watch out for things around Interstate 75 here. Some of that wind enhancement may be moving in. Tifton, Ashburn, as well as Ocella, Fitzgerald, Sylvester, over toward, it looks like Ty, Phillipsburg, Mystic, Unionville, Worth, Terrell, as well as Sycamore, Sumner, Warwick, Rebecca, Minton, under this warning to 11:45, a very long fused warning because it seems we're getting a pretty widespread area of some strong winds, and at points damaging winds are occurring, it seems, toward the surface. So gotta be tracking that potential. We'll be back here about 10:30 unless we have some new information to tell you about. So stay tuned, everybody. Stay safe out there on this Tuesday evening. For now, meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center signing off. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center coming back to you with another update as we did just get word here of a gust of 62 miles an hour, it looks like, at Albany Airport there. So really seeing some of these winds reach the surface. I'm sure some power has been knocked out there around Doherty and Lee County. I haven't checked here, and it may take a few minutes to populate in our system. But again, just a report in at about 17 past the hour. Just came across the wire of a gust of 62 miles an hour at the Albany Airport. So let's go ahead and zoom in here. You see the line moving across. We're getting this wind to really reach down to the surface. You know, you see here, we know that we had a gust there to about 50 miles an hour toward Dawson, and I know the chat's just talking about it. We were looking here, seeing that information just come across, and Dawson, Augusta 50, and 62 now toward Albany. So really nasty situation there, and that means Sylvester, you're about to get winds pretty similar. Gotta watch out here toward Moultrie, toward Tipton here over the next little bit, especially Camilla as well, because we could have winds here in that range, and that's a pretty nasty number to be getting here measured at the airport. Again, 62 miles an hour to Southwest Georgia Regional Airport in Albany. Breaking news, a gust there of severe criteria by a few miles an hour, something you don't see all that often at an airport site like that. So again, these winds are reaching the surface. I mean, if you're watching the coverage and you've already gotten to the accident, you probably know what I'm saying. We're definitely seeing some nasty conditions, and then you're going to know pretty soon, unfortunately, down toward the south and east. And speaking of down toward the south and east, we did just get an update from the Storm Prediction Center and the National Weather Service here that they've extended the severe thunderstorm watch further on in toward parts of southern Georgia. And now all of it looks like South Georgia, that the Tallahassee office covers, but Lanier and Lowndes under the watch, and the watch does remain in effect west of Jefferson here as well until 1 a.m. But again, all the Georgia counties but Lanier and Lowndes now, so not Valdosta, but everybody else, the Tallahassee covers there in South Georgia now under that severe thunderstorm watch as we're looking ahead and toward the timeline. We'll zoom in just a little bit. I know that thread, the word Quitman's gone, but still, and that'll be cleared out soon. But nonetheless, we're watching things very carefully. Quitman County, I'm talking about. But again, seeing the watch being saved back there for Coffee and Dale as well. But again, we just got a gust in to 62 miles an hour. So that's why we're breaking a little bit early. We'll stay past 10:30. That's the plan. And then we'll go off for a little bit. But again, just into the Weather Center, severe gust there in Albany. As we're seeing some really nasty conditions. Interestingly enough, I'm not seeing a whole bunch of lightning popping on up here, but that's good, obviously, at least on our one source. I'm going to check our other source real quick to make sure, and there's a few more on here. Let's pop this up, but still, I don't know exactly how much lightning we're seeing relatively, so that's not necessarily an extreme hazard with this, but still having some pretty bad hazards overall with that wind being the primary one, as we just got a new warning now until 11:30 for parts of Calhoun, Holmes, Jackson, Washington out of our area, but Seminole County in our area. So a new severe thunderstorm warning now until 11:30 tonight Eastern time. As we're looking ahead, looks like maybe even some wind enhancement showing up on the radar here north of Marianna. I'm not sure if this is what they issued it for, but I would think it would be. We'll find out here once the polygon pops on up, but we're seeing some of that wind enhancement here in toward that Marianna vicinity overall. Probably just a new polygon to kind of fit between here as we're looking toward Jackson County in the Florida Panhandle. And then again, Seminole under this, but Camilla watching here in our viewing circle. Some strong wind moving in. Colquitt, Sylvester, really seeing that as that new polygon just popped on. We're seeing that a potential, and we'll see if this holds together for Tallahassee. There's a watch. The risk is lower there overall, but it's not zero. And we just got an update from the Storm Prediction Center kind of explaining to us what's going on. So as we reach the bottom of the hour here, I do want to kind of recap everything for you. We'll go ahead, go toward our home view here. So people are just tuning in, wondering what's going on. We did break in a little bit early here because we got a gust of 62 miles an hour at the Southwest Georgia Regional Airport. Seeing that gust there pretty high there in Albany. That's where that is in Doherty County. And we're seeing the severe thunderstorm watch. That area has been expanded. New warnings on the board. We have 3 different polygons as of 1029 here on our board. You see them, at least for parts of it. Actually, I guess you could say 4, but that one for Lee's going away right about now. So let's make it 3 now as of 10:30 officially here. So again, 3 severe thunderstorm warning polygons on the board. Here at the 10:30, we're coming on, sticking with you for a few minutes. We broke in a little early, severe storm there, Albany, gust to 62. And this line here, as we're getting information from the Storm Prediction Center, could still produce that damaging wind threat. It's isolated more, though, it seems, and they're not expecting to have to issue a downstream watch. But again, some local extensions have been done by Tallahassee, and they do seem warranted here based on what we're seeing within our Doppler radar algorithm. So, what they're saying, the Storm Prediction Center, is that a long-lived MCS, mesoscale convective systems, beginning to show signs of decrease in intensity. The cloud tops are warming some of the satellite imagery. And in fact, this might cut us out just a little, but I want to pop this up. So we'll go over to our infrared satellite, because this is something that's kind of interesting to see. You're used to seeing hurricanes or tropical storms like this, but you see some thunderstorm accent like this as well. Still seeing some pretty nasty accent overall here, though, from this vantage point with the storminess around. But it's kind of giving you a different perspective as we had yet another new warning issued. As again, we're seeing the storm system here, talking about a gust of 50, but then the 62 was also reached there, and looks like they're marking it down a little bit earlier at 11 past, but I saw 17 here on a couple other sources. But given the expectation that the overall storm intensity should continue to decrease here, then downstream watch would not be required. But again, another new warning, so you just gotta watch things. Sometimes things look like they'll weaken. This system, really, the overall pattern, I should say, has been a really hard one to forecast. We've seen stuff kind of evolve here. There's pretty nasty, I mean, tornadoes popping up, maybe a little stronger than we're expecting in terms of that rotation potential. Maybe not really strong tornadoes, but this thing's popping up in odd spots here. Tornado towards Virginia. We had a tornado in South Carolina. Just got a survey on that. I mean, so you just got to watch, maybe not tornadoes, but those winds might hold together a little bit longer than we're anticipating as we go ahead and look at some of our other parameters here. Our tornado parameters, they're a little bit here that are on the board, but then our energy values are still there. And we'll just have to see how things kind of are able to come together over the next little bit. As I see now, Mitchell County experiencing high winds, reports of trees down, Phyllis Circle and Baconton, and trash cans from local residents there in the street. So always good if you're out ahead of this to secure those trash cans if you can. Charge those devices as well, as we were alluding to the power outage threat here. Let me go ahead and look to see if we have any new information now. I do see numbers going up some more in the Peach State, as you would kind of anticipate, unfortunately. Definitely seeing a few more outages, so let's go ahead and pop this out. This may still not be quite up to date. Maybe not tracking all the customers, and maybe a little behind, but I've seen some power outage issues as we get here. Ben Hill County, 840 customers in the dark. We get over here, Dougherty County, it looks like, as I move a little bit further with the mouse, 253 customers in the dark. Toward Baker County, Georgia, 440, Calhoun, 113, Randolph, 604, Clay and Georgia, 201, Quitman, 91. So you see some different outages on the board here. So these storms are knocking out some power. And this is from 1014, so I'm sure these numbers in our next update will go up even further here, as we've seen some outages, obviously, I'm sure, in between that update and right now here at 10:33 on this Tuesday. So again, we're watching things carefully. We're on here. We just had a gust again to 62 in Dougherty County, Albany. So this isn't one of those hit and miss type thunderstorms we covered during the summer, even though this is a little late for something like this in some ways here overall. This is something in some regards. So you just have to be really careful here with this. Definitely have to be really careful with this here as we're watching the situation. So just kind of giving you the viewpoints. I see we're losing a few frames. That can happen from time to time, so I apologize for kind of cutting out a little bit here. Apologize for that. So let me go ahead now and see where else we should go with this. I like to generally leave it on a still image when we're cutting out like this. I'm not quite sure why we're cutting out so much, but this happens sometimes. We're in Bradford County, and it's a pretty rural area, so internet not as good out here, but Again, we're watching things very carefully. So let me go ahead now, see if we can move away from this. Maybe this will help. Not sure. Again, just continuing to watch things here on this Tuesday evening. We'll go ahead and I think wrap this update up here in just a moment. I do see maybe a little bit better of a feed there, but we're just going to continue to watch things here in the Weather Center because we see that line. We see those severe thunderstorm warnings in play. You see the radar updating as well. Parts of Seminole County under that new warning. Watching the action from the west, parts of southwestern Georgia, south of Albany, really seeing some of those warnings in play, and east of Albany as well, near I-75. So be weather aware. We'll be back here by about 11 o'clock unless we have some information to let you know about earlier. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here in the Weather Center as we're at pretty much at the top of the hour. We're seeing multiple severe thunderstorm warnings in play here at 11 p.m. or so as we're looking towards southwest, south central Georgia. Just really getting a lot of those on the board here, so definitely worth noting for sure. And in fact, I'll go ahead and switch you up here to a closer look at things, try to inspect things a little bit better. And you'll be able to see here toward Tipton, we have a severe thunderstorm warning in play. They're getting some pretty nasty weather in toward Tipton right now, Tipp County there, even toward Ty as well there. So seeing some of that. Interstate 75, you see over here a new warning for parts of Coffee County, Atkinson, and a couple others out of reviewing circle to 1145, Bacon and Jeff Davis out of the area. But 60-mile-an-hour winds indicated by the Doppler radar. I know we've had a history of some pretty strong winds. The Weather Service in Jacksonville pretty concerned about some of this. And then as we're looking down toward Moultrie, a severe thunderstorm warning to 1145 there for parts of Cook, Berrien, and Colquitt counties. You see that threat in toward that area. We have that from, it looks like here, areas not too far away from Camilla a little while ago, but now we're seeing that progress even further east at 65 miles an hour, that movement. And we have Nashville, Moultrie, Adel, as well as Sparks, Ray City, Norman Park, even over toward Lenox, over toward Riverside, Berlin, under the severe thunderstorm warning. And then down toward the south, we're getting some action moving on into this polygon now. Kind of having to switch between radars at times. Tallahassee probably worked best for this. So we'll go over toward the Tallahassee radar site right now and kind of give you an idea of what's going on here as you're looking toward parts of Decatur County, Grady County, Thomas counties as well here. We'll kind of show you that vantage point. You see some lightning on the board here with some of this. Kind of seeing a little maybe out ahead. It's hard to say. So we'll switch to that Tallahassee perspective to give you a better look at things. Some of this might be a little bit ahead. Just kind of watch, see if some of this wind can kind of enhance down to the surface here. Just always interesting to watch some of our different vantage points. Bainbridge about to get some pretty strong wind out here as we just have multiple warnings on the board. It kind of tells a story, in fact. And power outage numbers are pretty nasty as well here as we get towards some of these vicinities. I know we'll kind of get that loaded on here in just a second. So you kind of see how the numbers have been changing. They've been increasing some here over the last little bit overall. So let's go ahead and show you that now. You'll be able to see down toward Decatur County, even getting into some of these power outages, 396 customers in the dark. As we get over toward Mitchell County now, 554 customers. Baker County in Georgia, 875 customers. And then up toward Calhoun, 117. Daugherty, 408. Not much in Lee County, but there are a few. Worth County, Turner County, Ben Hill County, seeing some outages. So definitely seeing some power outages. It's important to stay on the chart of the devices. If you have some time there, even anywhere under this thunderstorm watch, really. So we'll go ahead and kind of get back to that here in just a moment. Kind of give you that vantage point. But again, the Weather Service in Jackson, we're talking about the potential to bring some trees down here with this wind energy toward parts of Coffee, Atkinson, maybe some of the other counties there as well, in our area, out of our area too. So something to kind of focus on here for sure. As we go back over toward our maps now, the Bainbridge Jackson, seeing some of this wind energy up here toward the north. You see Moultrie again, some of this coming in. Tipton, Ocella, Fitzgerald, and then Douglas, Adel in the path, Thomasville in the path. So just a lot to watch here on a Tuesday evening. This storm system seems to be overachieving. It's been overachieving a lot lately, in fact, as we've been looking at off toward the west and north with different scenarios that have evolved, seeing a lot of damage, a lot of issues. Power outage is still pretty substantial toward Mississippi, Alabama. So I just always got to remain on guard. We did have a moderate rest today, 4 to 5. So when I say overachieved, it's relative in that you have to kind of keep in mind with the moderate rest for the damage and wind is not as big of a topic. So 4 to 5 still pretty significant. But even in the our region, we're starting to get in the marginal zone. And this the coverage of the axis looks a little bit higher than marginal here at this point, it seems. So we'll go ahead and kind of show you that. In fact, we have our other system. I have our other system on the board here now, and you'll be able to see or marginal risk area where a lot of this is entering in. So it kind of tells you we shouldn't be having as much of this in a widespread fashion, but still going to be watching, going to be tracking. Just several warnings. I mean, I kind of hate to wrap up the update too soon because when we're in the summertime, sometimes we focus on a warning for a while. We have a lot of areas under warnings for a high confidence of some damage and wind moving in here. So Bainbridge again, Thomasville already seeing that move through. Camilla getting those reports in there. I see multiple lines, trees down in the area there. Excuse me, as we're looking toward areas of Andrews. It looks like there on the road, Andrews, that's what is noted here in our chat session and in our system there. A law enforcement report. More trees down toward Baconton, the wind toward Albany. So just again, a nasty night here. Nothing tornadic necessarily. Can't run a quick spin up within range of the Doppler, or maybe just so quick and not too much stronger than the actual winds themselves. That we could be having some of that translate down to the surface in a quick spin up as well. So I just gotta watch for that. Gotta watch out for this wind potential here. I'll be back by about 11:30 unless we have like a tornado warning popping up here. But again, you see there's several warnings on the board. I mean, kind of count them out here. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 warnings. We'll even just kind of step in front of the graphics here as I zoom out a little bit more. You'll be able to see what we're talking about. 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, and then all the way out here. I'll step over even towards 6. So 6 severe thunderstorm warnings for parts of our area. You don't see that all that often, especially as we're getting this time of year. Sometimes we don't have action quite like this. I mean, occasionally you do, but once you get into May, you're watching more up toward the Midwest and sea breeze stuff. Occasionally, though, you get something like this. So that's what we're watching. Report here in Terrell County of a tree down on a house. So just kind of tells the story. Now, luckily, the rainfall here, I'll pop this one real quick, I think. The rainfall situation shouldn't affect areas as much as we're looking off toward the east here, but south toward the numbers might end up being higher than this shows. But you can kind of see here, north central Florida, we're going to be watching that action more tomorrow and then on your Thursday here. So I know cloudweather.com/radar will have that interactive look when we're not on, but we're staying on. We have multiple severe thunderstorm warnings. That damage and wind potential is real. It's been realized here this evening. It's just not a tornadic situation, so we're not using a higher level of wording necessarily, but it's still impactful. It could still be life-threatening to some of you here with this wind potential impacting the areas of southern Georgia, Bainbridge, Thomasville, already seeing Camilla, but Moultrie, Adele, or Adele, however you want to pronounce it, in Cook County, Tipton, Fitzgerald, Douglas there too. So watching all that potential here with the parameters in play, those severe weather ingredients, keeping this action together here, and we'll keep you up to date. Meteorologist Casey Cloud coming back on with you because we just had some new warning information come out from the National Weather Service in Tallahassee. Now, Valdosta even under a warning. Just kind of goes to see how many warnings we have on the board here. I mean, they're not even under that watch as we're looking toward parts of Lowndes and Lear counties. So it's just kind of interesting to see overall. Zoom in a little bit. You see what I'm talking about as I go ahead and take off our other information there. So just interesting to see how things are holding together a little bit more than we anticipated. I'm definitely seeing that here be the story this evening. So let's go ahead and kind of examine things. We're just going to stick with this here, maybe past 11:30 at this point, because we're just seeing so much in the way of nasty weather conditions here. Is the situation a little bit more serious than we were anticipating? Not maybe with tornadoes, but just with those damaging wind gusts. But I have seen rotation from time to time here. But Bainbridge getting some strong, maybe damaging winds toward Cairo there, Thomasville. Moultrie's getting in them now. Nashville soon. Enigma now. Quitman here, you see they're under the warning. Valdosta under the warning. Douglas, they're under a warning as well. We just have so many warnings here on the board. I mean, different reports coming in. Tree down there, or multiple trees down in Lee County, Georgia, according to the 911 call center. So destroy a system that's overachieving here on this Tuesday evening here, folks. Really seeing this overachieve. We're keeping you safe and informed here from the Weather Center, trying to let you know exactly what's happening out there. So again, you see all that wind energy that's been translating down, and we'll go back under the hood, in fact, and now as we're looking at some different things here, a new update just came out. Ben Hill, Berrien, and Irwin, severe thunderstorm warning continued for that vicinity until 11:45 for the wind potential. So we'll look at some of that right now. As we go to the north, you'll probably see this update as we get Tip, Turner, and Worth out of this now. But you see down south of Ocilla some of this, but a lot of this translating down with the wind potential toward Douglas, Pearson, and there's the Polygon update. You see Adel here, hey, higher over the next little bit. Lakeland, Georgia as well. Some really nasty weather showing up around Bainbridge, according to our Tallahassee radar. There toward Decatur, looking towards Seminole County, and then Chattahoochee getting in some of this. Might even get some more warnings to the south. Now, overall, we're not expecting as much in the way of severe weather down toward the south as we showed you the marginal risk there, and ultimately no risk in play. But already seeing some of these warnings now outside of that marginal risk zone. So again, things are overachieving here to some extent. We'll go ahead and pop things back on up here. As you see, our severe thunderstorm warning for Valdosta, again, not under a watch, not under a formal risk, but things again holding together a little bit better than we anticipated here. So I just got to be on guard as we're looking toward this area. You can see some more energy values up there as well, still pretty high, and that's helping to keep some of this action going. Wind energy not as favorable, but again, you have that cape there, convective available potential energy around, and that helps with the severe potential in play overall. So you just have to be watching here very carefully. You just have to be watching the situation very carefully here as we're looking toward the Big Bend region. As we're looking toward even Tallahassee to some extent here. They're under a watch there, so it's possible we could get a severe thunderstorm warning for FSU. I know not as many people in that area right now as we're kind of taking a little bit of a break there, but still watching things carefully. FAMU, TCC, that vicinity, the state capitol as well. So again, just watching things coming from the Weather Service right now. Warnings continue here. Brooks, Lanier, and Lowndes, parts of those counties to 11:45. Decatur, Grady, going to, let's take that, 12:45. I'm getting my times. We're not used to these being this long a fuse, so I'm looking at Zulu time and just assuming it'd be 11:45, but no, we're talking about 12:45 for Brooks, Lanier, and Lowndes, 12:15 for Decatur, Grady, and Thomas. We have 11:45 for Atkinson, Bacon. That's out of our area in terms of Bacon and Jeff Davis, but then we have Coffee and Atkinson in our area at 11:45. Berrien and Colquitt as well as Cook until 11:45. Ben Hill, Berrien, and Irwin to 11:45, and then Calhoun, Jackson, Seminole, Calhoun, Jackson over area, but Seminole, and that goes here for a little bit longer to 11:30. So Definitely seeing that. I see reports now, trees down toward Jackson County, a lot of them down. So it's going to cause issues with power outages. So just going to be on guard with the situation. Maybe charter those devices even in Tallahassee just in case. Maybe it didn't take a really severe, nasty event to knock out that power in Tallahassee, but you could still have some issues there in Leon County. So gotta be watching out for that. We'll go back on over to some of our other sources. The warning this got continued for Berrien, Colquitt, and Cook till 11:45. In terms of power outages in Georgia, the numbers here are pretty stable overall. So we won't go to that at the moment. Let me see if there's anything that's worth noting in Florida. I do see a few outages here as we're looking toward parts of the northern part of the state. Washington County, 1,800, looks like 13 there. Jackson, 189 customers in the dark. So those could continue to add up a little bit of that wind energy translates down to the surface. I know we saw this off toward the north and west, toward Montgomery, for instance. So we really saw things translate down to the surface there. In toward that vicinity, a lot of issues. We saw Birmingham, a bad emergency flash flooding situation. Jackson, Mississippi, a tornado event embedded with a really nasty squall line, winds to about 80 miles an hour, give or take, in the squall line. We've had storms going back. We had a Tupelo tornado Sunday night. The tornadoes around Dallas last night. The tornado around Atlanta yesterday morning. We've had a tornado situation in South Carolina, a lone track one there. It looks like Virginia tornado. We had tornado warnings. We had tornado warnings toward Maryland, Pennsylvania, Illinois. We had tornado confirmed there as we were looking back yesterday in that state. So this is crazy in terms of the number of alerts. We haven't had anything really, really serious to my knowledge, and I could be wrong on this because we've been busy tracking weather here and more surveys are coming out. To my knowledge, we haven't had anything higher, though, than an EF2, luckily, so not getting closer in toward that high-end, strong, or violent tornado range. But we are seeing more information come out. Looks like they extended the watch area to 1 now, going all the way over, as you would expect. So now everything's kind of covered in toward the Tallahassee jurisdiction in Georgia, and then in Florida, it looks like they added Jefferson County there, as well as Madison County. So that's this new information, and now it looks like here to the Weather Center, seeing that come on the board here. Parts of Jefferson, Madison now being added to 1 a.m. within that watch, as this potential still holding, and a little bit, again, worse than we anticipated. I know off toward tomorrow in our timeline, we're kind of wondering about what could happen. So let's go ahead and pull up our day 2 outlook. I'll go ahead and show you some of this here. Give me just a moment. We'll kind of get a couple things cleaned on up over here, and you'll be able to see as we look in toward the timeline this marginal risk here in play, as you see all the way down towards Stark and Jacksonville. So that potential around as we're looking more toward tomorrow. Tonight's potential, though we're outrunning it some, is more toward Georgia and the Big Bend, maybe getting further over toward the far southeast Georgia or toward the Swanee Valley, maybe, as we're getting this to the far extent, I would think. But it's been an interesting evening to see things start to move outside of our area we were watching. And then as we look toward, it looks like I'll pop up tomorrow once again. There's tomorrow, and then there's your Thursday. You see the threat here toward north central Florida, toward the first coast as well. Definitely watching things here in play toward that area, trying to keep you up to date. I mean, pretty busy. Hopefully we don't have anything like this in terms of the high run potential. We're expecting more scattered severe weather, but again, you never know. We'll be here to keep you updated. We'll have updates as necessary, and then just continue to watch things, Roy, as we go ahead and switch you back on over now toward the Doppler radar algorithms. You'll be seeing some of this action here on the board. Gadsden, let's see how the wind energy looks there. We'll have to see if warning is required toward Gadsden County in the next little bit. I see a report from McRae there with a tree down just north of Workmore on Highway 441 blocking the entire roadway. So these storms are right back in a punch here. Dangerous weather overall. We talked about numerous trees and power outages throughout Lee County, at least some of that. They're in toward the 911 call center. Some nasty weather toward Leesburg. We were seeing some of that. We gave you the heads up there toward some of that region. Talked about Dawson, numerous trees and power outages throughout that county. That county, of course, is Terrell County, so I've seen that potential in play as well. So just a nasty evening of severe weather overall. Watching the chat session, keeping up to date. Nothing maybe tornadic, but still just a lot of wind energy translating down to the surface. You still can't rule out a quick spin up tornado, but overall not too terribly concerned in terms of that potential. We'll watch though and we'll track it, but these winds have been high, they have been dangerous, and we've been keeping you up to date to keep you and your family safe here this evening. Let's go over to our FSU weather sim camera over Tallahassee now. We'll kind of pop that on here and see a visual on what's going on. As I see another report, Colquitt there, Norman Park area, Lonnie Brookard Road, a tree down there. So definitely telling that story on what's been a very busy evening here across southwest, south central Georgia. And there's Tallahassee. There's your weather stem viewpoint there. You see some of those clouds around. It's a nasty evening toward Leon County there. As we're looking ahead, at least in toward that timeline, where we're going to see those conditions deteriorate some. Maybe not to the severe level. Maybe so. There's a severe thunderstorm watch till 1 a.m. So we'll be paying attention. We'll be giving you the latest updates to keep everybody safe here as we're watching the region, as we're giving you the latest details. Of course, you can find me here on Twitter if you're watching from that platform, or depending on where you're watching, we're just going to kind of list the options. Facebook, YouTube as well. YouTube, you can go on some different programs there and kind of watch me how you like, different platforms per se. And then we have cloudweather.com, where you can go to the interactive radar. We have cloud_WX there on Twitter too, where you can kind of see how things are going in terms of the automated alerts that are coming down, all the different statements. There's a lot of them. It's been a busy night. From the Tallahassee, from the Jacksonville Weather Service offices, those weather forecast offices. So definitely something to maybe check out there. Maybe turn notifications on to, maybe when I go live for Twitter. Maybe if on the automated account, though, you can get, excuse me, a lot in the way of flood warnings. You might want to go make sure you, by clicking that button, that you get all those alerts on that account. If you are really concerned, maybe for a little bit, and then maybe turn that off. So that can be an option there for you. So just trying to tell you and give you some different options here this evening in terms of some of those different methods for receiving warnings, for staying in tune to the latest weather information here. So we're almost at 11:30. We're going to be welcoming some of you joining back in here. We've been with you for a few minutes because of this, all the warnings toward, I know, South Georgia, about after that new warning popping on up. Just wanted to try to give you the latest information this evening here on what's been a very active night. Again, overachieving to some extent here. Not tornadic weather necessarily. Again, can't run a quick spin up, but we've had quite a bit of wind energy. Warnings continue. We had some drop off the board at 11:30, but Bainbridge, Thomasville, Cairo, over toward Brooks County there as we get toward Quitman, Valdosta, Lakeland, Lanier County. You have Adel getting into some of this now. We have Berrien County, Nashville. You have areas there toward the north as well getting into this potential. You see Douglas there in toward Coffee County. We have Atkinson County, Pearson there, and in some of those regions out of our viewing circle, we're getting further away from that Tallahassee radar. Stuff moving toward Tallahassee right now, not severe if you're looking from the west, but we'll continue to watch, give you the latest updates here. As I know, just welcoming our new viewers currently. We do have a few warnings on the board, 12:45 a.m. Brooks, Lanier, and Lowndes for that one. All these are for wind potential, Roy. And then we have Decatur, Grady, and Thomas till 12:15. We have Atkinson, Bacon, Coffee, Jeff Davis. Now, in terms of our region, we're talking about Coffee and Atkinson. That goes into 11:45. Berrien, Colquitt, and Cook. That goes into 11:45. And Ben Hill, Berrien, and Irwin to 11:45. As we continue to track things here, we're giving you those latest updates to keep you, your friends, your family ahead of the storms here in Valdosta under this warning, a long fused warning for the next hour and 15 minutes. I see some significant weather advisory information coming out. So I think we are seeing that weakening trend we talked about, at least to some extent now. So maybe starting to transition a little bit over to those versus severe thunderstorm warnings. That's for Atkinson, Ware, Clinch until about 12:30 this morning coming up. And then you see again though severe warnings for I-75 has a Norman Park there, Colquitt County. Thunderstorm wind damage, a tree down on Lonnie Brookhart Road. We already kind of talked about that, but that's being now sent into our system. So something that's really interesting to take note of here for sure. As we watch here in the overall weather situation. You see down toward Thomas County right now near, it looks like as I get down to the street level, I want to make sure we get these roads on here. Sometimes they don't pop up too easily, but US Highway 319, seeing some of that accident there in Thomas County. You see Bainbridge here, Decatur County, State Route 1, Cairo here. Looks like 3rd Street getting some of this. The wind energy translating at points, other points not as much, but a little hard to pick out at times. We did just get a warning canceled off for Ben Hill, Berrien, and Irwin, so that's good. It's still warning here west of Douglas as we're seeing that accident not slip as well, and then translate over to we're looking from a different Doppler radar, a different radar vantage point. So that's something to kind of bear in mind here too. You just have to continue to watch things as we have several warnings in play. Again, this accident should be weekend on and down as we're looking ahead here in the night, but there's multiple ways to get alerts just in case. But as we look here toward that Wednesday, we'll still be kind of paying attention here because we have that severe that kind of come back on the board. Thursday here, a marginal 1 out of 5 risk as well. I do see a TVS signature. Let's check this out. There's some rotation on this east to southeast of Douglas. We'll watch it. It'd be a quick week spin up. Wouldn't be like what we saw on your Saturday, not this past Saturday, but the last Saturday before the one we were doing with here this past weekend. But you can see a little bit of weak rotation that can sometimes happen along these lines, if nothing else, an enhancement in wind. As we're looking on the east side of Douglas there, Adel, seeing some pretty high winds. You see the line there. As we're kind of looking, I'll point it out for you. Hey, Hira here, Quitman. You see that line just north of them? We kind of showing maybe where some of that wind would reach the surface a little bit more. Kind of seeing that try to get down toward the surface as we're looking in that general vicinity. Some of this kind of getting out ahead of things, so kind of interesting to see that. Maybe a weakening trend overall noted by that on our algorithms, and that'll be good news. We just got another significant weather advisory for Leon's. That tells me they're not going to go with a severe thunderstorm warning for Tallahassee right now. That's the plan, to go with this a significant weather advisory until 12:30. And if we start seeing these warnings go off, if all of them go off, we'll end our coverage. But we still have a warning for Brooks, Lanier, and Lowndes to 12:45. Decatur, Grady, Thomas to 12:15. Atkinson, Bacon, Coffee, Jeff Davis, 11:45. And Berrien, Colquitt, and Cook until 11:45. Of course, all those counties with the exception of, it looks like, Bacon and Jeff Davis within our coverage area. So going to be watching for the potential here. Going to be giving you the latest updates. We'll be back by about midnight here. So we need to break back in earlier. If we really see something, we want to talk about some extra information, we will. We came on about 11:17 or so with this cut in, and just wanted to kind of stay past 11:30 if you're just tuning in for the latest information. Of course, we have radar up in between the updates here, but this night again, producing more wind reports than we were anticipating here. I had quite a bit of those storm ingredients come together. I still got 4 warnings on the board, so we'll keep you advised as necessary. If we don't have to break back in again before midnight, we'll see you around then. Back here in the Weather Center at midnight, I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud, continuing to watch the weather situation. It's just been a very busy night towards South Georgia. I still got a couple warnings here in play. You see three polygons, in fact, one toward Thomasville, another one there toward Valdosta, and a third here toward areas of Atkinson, Coffee counties as well. Interesting to see as I go to our base velocity here. Some wind showing up there, so that wind energy here as we're looking, but it does seem that overall we are seeing a weakening trend. So that's some good news. So we should be able to wrap up the coverage within the hour, I would think. I can't guarantee that. We do have one of the warnings technically going to 12:45, and they may let it ride out. We'll just have to wait and see. But Weather Service in Jackson, we're talking about a line of storms has weakened and will continue to do so as it continues to push across the inland areas of southeast Georgia, but still could have some outflow winds up to about 45. So that makes me think they'll probably drop that Jacksonville warning that that Jacksonville does in fact watch here as we're looking toward the north, and then as we look down toward the south, they see a couple warnings in play. A lot of that accent starting to kind of for the Thomas area warning, Thomas County warning, that's pushing toward the south, and then toward Valdosta here, you're seeing that near Interstate 75. Not seeing too much here, so up though we are kind of at an odd spot here on the radar, so that's something to take into consideration as well. Now, in terms of our overall coverage here, I know we'll be watching some more storms toward the morning hours, possibly try to evolve. That's what's been displayed in some of the higher resolution models toward maybe the Big Bend. So that's something to watch for Tallahassee as you watch for that morning commute. So what I think we're going to do here, since we've been on for a while now, we're not going to have an update here later this morning at 7 a.m., a formal update in that 7 o'clock time range. But we're just going to be watching things, of course, and breaking it if needed here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is I'll pop up a look at things here in terms of those rain chances as we get down the road a little bit. I've updated that now. We're past midnight, so let's go ahead and switch you on over toward the graphics computer. And you do see here a 60% chance of rain I've gone with now for Wednesday. I do want to kind of break this down a little bit area by area because I know sometimes it's a little harder in the shorter updates. So just in terms of that, Tallahassee earlier on, then weakening out toward the east. So the rain chance toward Tallahassee looks to be higher today. Wednesday coming up. But as we look toward the Thursday, the chances higher towards Stark Gainesville is pretty low, especially in South Georgia. So just kind of breaking that down, and then toward that Mother's Day weekend, you see less than 10%, really almost zero, it seems, zero, and maybe in some instances here. So that's some good news. It's going to be a pretty nice weekend in terms of sky conditions, but it will be on the warm side. I mean, we have seen some really high temperatures. That's kind of helped fuel some of the severe weather action with the parameters coming together just right here. So that's something you have to take into consideration as well. And we're just on top of everything, as we just got some more reports in one or two trees down there in Grady County. So I just gotta continue to pay attention here. You see our line, our accent continuing to evolve, but things definitely look weaker. But we'll be back about 12:30 unless we need to break back in earlier with more information. I would anticipate us wrapping it up around 12:30. If we get these warnings to all go away real quick here, I may come back on sooner than 12:30 to wrap it up. But if we do have information here that suggests we need to break back in earlier for some reason, we would. But again, probably come back at 12:30 if we still have that threat hanging around close to then. Maybe earlier if needed beforehand to wrap things up or to give you late breaking information. So for now, meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center. See you back in just a little bit. Back here in the Weather Center at the bottom of the hour, I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud continuing to cover. We'll probably be wrapping it up pretty soon, though, because things look better overall. And in fact, I just dropped that severe thunderstorm warning. They just canceled it. As I'm talking here, it came into the chat section. Brooks Lanier Lounge no longer under a warning. So we'll be wrapping this up here in just a few minutes as we kind of recap what's happened tonight. It's been a crazy night here overall in the Weather Center. I know the power outage numbers are pretty high overall, so we'll kind of get that pulled up. Technically still watch them play for another 30 minutes or so, so we'll watch. I noticed a little wind enhancement in Leon County a few minutes ago, but we're just going to go over to our Georgia power outage map where we have nearly 40,000 customers here in the dark. So let's go ahead and kind of punch that on up now. You'll be able to see what we're talking about, in fact, and kind of get an idea of what's going on. So as we're looking here toward parts of southern Georgia, for instance, you can see kind of highlighted Atkinson, 917 customers, Coffee, 2,278, and then over toward the west here, Ben Hill at 94. I know we had quite a bit of issues in Ben Hill County. Multiple county road and state routes closed due to downed trees and power lines. It looks like the local road department, GDOT, they are working to clear that. One mobile home does have major damage, though. One with minor damage. And then as we're looking toward Irwin County, nearly 2,000 customers in the dark. Turner County, 722 customers. Worth County, 1,386 customers. Dougherty County, 676 customers. Calhoun, 135. Getting over toward Clay in Georgia, 204. Quitman, 95. Then down toward Baker in Georgia, nearly half, or pretty much about half the customers in the county in the dark. Mitchell, 1,234. Brooks, 208. Lowndes there, 1,437, where the warning just got dropped. Things weakening on down there. Grady County, 261 customers, and Decatur, 472. So really adding those numbers up here this evening for sure. Really seeing those numbers come up. I know my voice, kind of losing it from time to time, but just trying to get through it here. Been pretty busy watching storms the last few days, and we're going to still be watching things. We're not going to have a formal update in the morning because we're going to be watching some of the storminess here that could be around for that morning commute, according to at least some of our higher res guidance. So let me go ahead and come back on camera, kind of reset things. Now, this is earlier, so I'm not 100% sure why we're somehow it's taken that. So let's go ahead and go back on over to other systems. So you see all the warnings off the board now. That's good. Things are decaying. That's the Weather Service's wording here. Shower storms over southeast Georgia could continue here to have some issues. Then where we have gusts 45 to 55. Small trees, branches could be brought down, but not really that severe weather, not getting the bigger problems now. As you can tell, things really weakening down in the Doppler, but still could have isolated issues, so just be careful, but no formal warnings anymore. That watch should go away here, I would assume, at 1 o'clock, as it's supposed to, which is good news. Real quick, let's go ahead and go out toward the FSU Weather Sim camera right now. We'll kind of pop that up to see what's happening there, get an idea. Looks like maybe a little bit of rain on the camera lens there, kind of what you would expect overall based on the radar presentation, but nothing too terribly significant, I don't think. I have noticed some higher reflectivity values at times, though. So let me go ahead and move on over now toward our other systems. I know we have a few of them that we can go between, so let me go ahead and switch on off of our WeatherStem software, or WeatherStem system right now that we have access to, that we look at there off of WeatherStem's website. So now let's go ahead and go over toward the Tallahassee Doppler radar. We're able to give you a vantage point of what's going on there in toward Leon County as they're getting some of this nasty action to move on through there. Around the state capitol, for instance, seeing some of this heavier rain, some of these gustier winds in play. As again, we're watching maybe for the morning to have around coming around sunrise. That's what the high-res model showed. We'll see if that happens or not, or maybe the timing's a little bit different, but just to give you a heads up. So we're not going to have a formal update in the morning. Just want to emphasize that if you're watching, we're just going to be watching things. cloudweather.com/radar is a good place to go when we're not on, so you can kind of see what's happening with the storms around. You see some wind here, Woodville, Wakulla, Crawfordville, that vicinity, south of Tallahassee generally at this point. Seeing some of that kind of push on out But again, not severe at this point. So that's the good news. Do a lot of damage. We've seen a lot of reports here. Again, all those power outages really adding on up toward the Peach State here this evening. And now we're going to switch you on over toward our rain chances as we look ahead in the timeline. You'll be able to see what's happening. 60% chance of rain here later today, and I broke this down on the update here at the top of the hour. But at 60%, we're talking more Tallahassee, less toward Jacksonville, Gainesville, and Stark. I went up on it though because the models are showing quite a bit of rain. Coverage-wise, might even be more rain today, Wednesday I'm talking about at this point, versus your Thursday. So that's something to kind of bear in mind here as we're looking at the grand scheme of things. But Thursday, more rain towards Stark, Gainesville, and that area around Ocala as well, it looks like. But Friday, Saturday, and Sunday look dry here. Just put 10% or less just to kind of have that on here, just as a safety in case we get a stray sour word to it. And we're going to put 0 on here. We normally just put different wordings of things, but I wanted to put that on this graphic here. I like this with the actual numbers here, just kind of giving you that numerical look at things. But as we're looking toward the weekend, it will warm back up. Going to cool off a little as we're kind of cooling on down when the system gets on out. Making things a little bit nicer, but warming back up in time for Mother's Day. So just giving you that forecast, since we're not going to be on for that formal update in the morning. May not have to come on today. If we get real lucky, probably will at some point. And if we do, of course, we'll be covering that severe weather potential that would be in progress based on radar indications or reports. So just something to kind of bear in mind. We'll be paying attention, keeping everybody up to date. And then as we go ahead and go through the show here, I'm going to go ahead and scroll on over. I do have a couple other graphics we can see. Let's go ahead and go here. This is our rainfall forecast. We're watching the rain potential, maybe a little more toward Georgia, kind of sitting around there. This does a pretty good job. You can kind of see here, excuse me, here as we're kind of continuing to watch. You can see that rain towards Stark, Jacksonville, Gainesville, to some extent, but more off toward the west, off toward the north and west here in general. So definitely interesting to see here overall. But again, the storm's are decaying at this point. That's great news. We've been watching things here within our Doppler radar algorithms, though. And just again, all these different reports, they have been something. They definitely have been pretty noteworthy here. Still seeing some pretty strong wind on some of our different modes of Dopplers. We look down here, 40, 50, maybe in McCulloch County at this point. Probably getting a few power outages even in Leon. I'll check that real quick just to see if they're adding up a little bit. Probably not too many, but maybe a few there just based on what could happen. 68 customers, so not too many, but that could go up because that's from a little while ago. So that probably is going up some. So just kind of some inside baseball on that. But again, things calming down for now. We have a 1 out of 5 risk of some severe weather action on your Wednesday. We'll go ahead and take off our lightning to see a few of those on there and see that here. There's your risk for your Wednesday as we're looking ahead in the timeline. Marginal risk down more toward parts of north central Florida. But then on Thursday, again, that marginal risk getting here all the way through north central Florida, even down toward central Florida, east central Florida. You kind of get the idea with that. So that's going to pretty much do it. Let's go ahead and reset with the Doppler radar technology one more time. The current viewpoints anyway. You see some storminess around Tallahassee, but again, no formal warning to watch for the next little bit. If something breaks, we'll let you know about it on our different platforms based on what does look required here. But overall, weakening trend, that's what we like to see here. So for now, thanks so much for trusting me. I'm meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center. I hope you have a great night. Stay safe, stay dry if you have that rain around. Some power outage issues there in southern Georgia especially. So that's something we're definitely taking note of here. More issues, bigger issues off toward the west. It's been a stormy evening. Thanks for trusting me to keep you safe.